Hey guys, we are back with another month of Korean. I don't know exactly how long it's been since I started, but I think it's nearing the 170-day mark. So yeah, that's almost 6 months, like five and a half. And yeah, I mean, as we get close to the halfway point, um, this is it's just going to get more interesting. So anyway, let's dive right into it. So, this month was rather productive, I would say. I think I did a good amount of studying, made a good amount of progress, and the layout is almost the same as last time. So, let's just jump right into it. Reading, nothing. Wow, I know, right? Dude, I cannot with reading. It's so depressing when books just have so many red underlined words in Kimchi Reader. I can't do it. It's so hard to find good materials. It's so hard to find EPUBs and they convert them into Markdown and then upload them. And I mean, maybe in the future once I learn more vocab, maybe if I get to 5,000 vocab or something, I'll start doing some reading. But oh man, I don't know. Not my preferred method of consuming content. So I don't think there's particularly anything wrong with that. It's just maybe slightly, I don't know, unusual. But okay, so that's reading. So for writing, I did a bit of writing for homework as part of like italki, which I'll talk a little bit more about what I did with italki later. But the writing part was just, a couple of random homeworks. Like one of my teachers gave me a scenario, and I had to write what I would say as part of like a dialogue in that scenario. And then another teacher gave me like a very short, like write one or two paragraphs. I think just one paragraph really about like your opinion on something. So it was just something really simple, just something relevant to the class that we just did. So yeah, I mean nothing too bad there. And then also I've been writing some more kind of daily diary entries on Hello Talk. So also Hello Talk have a lot of things to say about Hello Talk, but I mean I've also been using the I guess the moments feature on Hello Talk to write some not I mean I feel like saying this was daily diary entries is kind of wrong because I'm not doing them daily nor are they really diary entries. Just whenever I feel like I have a need to output or whenever I feel like I have something to say in Korean rather than just keeping it to myself, I'm just gonna post it on Hello Talk, and I think that's how I'll use this in the future. So yeah, that's writing. Speaking. Honestly, speaking was something I focused the most on this month, to be honest. So I was really debating because I like to structure these videos in such a way where we're going from the least involved to the most involved. Speaking was what I've mainly been focusing on a lot recently because for the placement exam at school, if I do want to take Korean at school in my final year of college next year, I will need to get a lot better at speaking because that's something that's emphasized at the level that I'm trying to achieve. Um, so yeah, I mean this month I mean I didn't go all in with speaking. There's definitely more things I could have done in order to maximize my time outputting. But there's like a delicate balance here because you want to be outputting, but you also don't want to spend so much time outputting that you're not inputting because inputting is you're building up your toolkit and then outputting is just you're using your tools, right, that you've already built up via input. And so if you just continuously output, you're just trying to like min max, I guess, the limited set of tools that you have. And there's pros and cons to that. And I mean, I have a much bigger tool set in my kind of non-working kit, right? That is like basically there's a lot more stuff that I've heard and I can't use than stuff that I've heard and I can use. So, I mean, I don't think it's too bad that I spent so much of this month on output. And maybe in the future, I think like a 1 to 2 split, kind of 33% output, 66% input, or maybe 30/70, something like that might be the most beneficial. Yeah, if I had to estimate this month, I spent maybe 40 60, just a little bit over. I guess the standard that I should be at. So I don't know if people have opinions on this. Let me know what the optimal ratio is. But enough rambling about that. In terms of what I did for speaking this month, still a lot of just talking to myself. Talking to myself is always something that I do. Every day I spend a couple of minutes just like coming up with like a random scenario and talking to myself. Um, or just I think, especially for someone like me who's kind of bad at just finding things to talk about randomly. I think for me when I talk to myself, I like to kind of like describe like past experiences that I've had, or just give myself like a kind of like an opinion and then elaborate on it to myself. Because obviously like a lot of these things are things that I've thought through before in English, so it's not too hard for me to just go through and kind of rephrase that in Korean, not translate, but kind of rephrase that in Korean. And one thing I've also been trying to do is image descriptions from the New York Times. So the New York Times has this like what's in this picture column. And in that column, they maybe once every 2 weeks they post random pictures, and the pictures are always somewhat interesting. And just trying to describe the background, describe what's going on. I did that for a week or two. Haven't been super consistent with it, but whenever I'm truly out of output ideas, I think that's been a good source of insight. So that's been one thing. Another thing I've tried doing a couple of times is shadowing live with Didi, with Tresusu Intermediate. That's been very hard, especially with Tresusu. Didi, I think, has a lot of these common because she's really unscripted, right? So she has a lot of the same things that she kind of repeats, so that makes it easier. But Tresusu sometimes she like crams, six grammar forms into nine syllables, and it's actually insane. So sometimes it's really hard to shadow her live, shadow her stuff live. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of mumble to myself whenever I'm doing it because I don't think I should be really focusing on mistakes that much. Anyway, it's more of just being like hearing it in the ears and outputting it through the mouth. I think that's really the important thing. And even if I stumble over my words and skip complete sections because I lost track or she got ahead of me or things like that, I think it's been pretty effective. So I think I'm just gonna keep doing it. Like a lot of times when I listen to these things is like when I'm walking to work or things like that. So it's like a perfect time to just like mumble to yourself, right? Anyway, chorusing, chorusing. I mean, I hope I'm using the right definition for this, but basically, I'm just like pausing after like scenes in like the drama I just watched recently, which is Business Proposal, and then I pause and then I just kind of look at like I just read off the chunk and then try to say it at the same speed with the same cadence and the same enunciations as the actual speaker in the scene. Yeah, that's also hard. Sometimes it's just tongue twisters. The speed at which they talk at is insane, and I know dramas talk faster than usual. But if I can get to a level like that where I don't stumble over my words when pronouncing at the speed at which drama actors pronounce at, then it'll make normal pronunciation a lot easier. So yeah, I mean it's been fun. Just sometimes especially they have much more flowery language in the language I'm used to. So yeah, it's been interesting. Okay, italki. Italki really trying to focus on output because I mean I don't really need any more input sources. Input you can find anywhere on the internet. You don't really need somebody to be there for you to give you input. So yeah, I mean, I've hired two italki teachers to try to focus on output. First is Sangsu. Shout out to Reimmerse, who is the one of the other people making videos like these, and like I think he's the OG. And he recommended Sangsu a couple of months ago when he started italki, and so I tried him out, and yeah, he's really cool. He's a really chill guy. Has a lot of like really interesting opinions and like really interesting topics to talk about. Yeah, so it's just like chatting with a friend. However, I think he slightly is overbearing sometimes in terms of the amount that he is talking versus me. I try to interject, but I think part of it is due to the fact that we're talking about like topics that are kind of outside my Korean ability at this point. Like for example, we talked about like finance, like the stock market or crypto, and I just do not have the words to describe stuff like that. The only stuff I can describe is like, oh, what I ate today. Like that type of like this slice of life stuff. I can't go into any really specific detail about anything yet. So I guess in that sense it's limited, but we also did some shadowing practice. So, just like scene from a drama, and then I would just repeat it. I don't know if it's shadowing or chorusing, whatever. I don't know what the difference is. But the biggest thing I got from Songsu, and this is where I highly recommend him, is like my pronunciation. Honestly, it's something that I really stressed, and I really thought about, whenever I was learning Korean, was like getting the pronunciations really good. And I did like receive compliments on my pronunciation, but I think he's really brought it to the next level. There's some specific, especially like he kind of mentioned that my pronunciation is too textbook, in the sense that like I'm clearly enunciating every syllable, and like yeah, I'm like doing the sound change rules and the bachim correctly, but I think like the hardest part is like pronouncing like a native, right? And that is what is he's really good at, is like, oh, slurring this part is okay. He corrected like my shiot sound, and that was a lot, like really really helpful, because before I was pronouncing them all like the double shiot sound. And then just things like that, he would draw like slice of the mouth like diagrams, like a 2D slice of the mouth, and to show like where the tongue should be and things like that, and that was really helpful. And so my pronunciation is, I've been feeling like it's been getting even better, just like meeting with Songsu. So yeah, big shout out. But I think I might see if I can like get a little more output out of those lessons. The other one is Sana. Also really good teacher if you literally just want to speak all the time. So the first two, I've only done two lessons with her so far, but it's literally just 30 minutes straight of 99% Korean each time. And it's me talking 90% of the time. She just like prompts with the question. And, she like obviously she could speak English, but like sometimes, you get, even like italki teachers do this, let alone language partners, language exchange partners, is just like to explain like more difficult concepts to just like revert to English. But I think like Sana is a really good, really good at like staying with like fully Korean. So like I don't know, I've maybe only heard two English words from her in like the full hour of lessons that I've had with her. So yeah, I mean, pretty proud that I can do this. I mean, obviously my Korean extremely broken. But I mean, just being able to talk like that for a long time, it really pushes me. And I'm really proud that I can do it. And I'm currently booking 30-minute lessons, which are like the shortest possible slots. And I'm not sure when I would ever upgrade to 45 or 60 minutes, because it's actually so taxing for the brain. I come out of those lessons feeling like I just took a test or something. I just took like a really intensive test, and I had just used my brain to its fullest capacity for the last 30 minutes. I kind of get that type of feeling. And I think, I mean, I mean, if I'm able to progress a lot faster, obviously, like pushing myself is really good, right? If I want to upgrade to longer lessons. But I don't know, I'm a little cautious of burning out there. I feel like it'd be kind of bad if I burned out. So I'll just keep it here for now. And yeah, one thing is like obviously when I'm speaking, and I think this is something that all language learners can probably relate to, is just forgetting really basic things. I I would when I was talking to Sangsu, I forgot like conjugation of like hashida is haseo. I just said hashoyo. It's like this type of stuff that just completely slips your mind, and that's like a first week or like first month of Korean like type of thing. Like the honorific form. And then like with Sana, I like forgot the verb like kajida, and that was like really embarrassing. He was like, how do I like say I like take this thing and go somewhere, And then she was like, oh, are you trying to say kajokada? And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm not stupid at all. Like, trust me, I'm not stupid. So it's frustrating, but these types of things I feel like are really good lessons, and I think in the language exchange or not language exchange, in the language learning process, these types of experiences might even be the best because if you feel a little embarrassed about them, you're probably more likely to remember them better anyway. So, you know, just take those lessons. I mean, and I mean they're kind of paid to like, suffer by listening to my Korean. So yeah, I mean I don't feel too bad. um, okay. The next was Mom. This also, a lot of stuff I've just kind of stolen off of Reimmerse's channel. This is just an app that you can call random people with. It's like 7 minute long calls, and you can just scroll through profiles, and then if you see some like a profile, it's not even a profile, it's just like a name. A name and then the languages that they're learning. And then if you click on them, you can like initiate a call. If they accept, you just call for 7 minutes. The end. You can hang up early if you want, that type of stuff. I only did one call on here. I'm kind of stressed about this type of stuff. I think it's just like a personality issue, personality diff. But it was all Korean, so 7 minutes long, went well. I think I do want to make more calls, but there seems to be a lot of English learners, and so I'm trying not to like call people with English, or maybe I should. There's probably people out there who, even though they're learning English, are willing to spend 7 minutes with a stranger talking in Korean. So I probably should relax that a bit. But a lot of people are learning English, and I like got hung up on at some point too because I like told somebody I was like learning Korean, and then they just like hung up on me. So and also like a lot of people decline, which is fair. Like I've declined a lot too, especially like I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in giving back to the community. I'm not there to have English conversations. So yeah, I mean, I also I guess like Koreans feel the same way a lot of the times they're on there to practice English. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I really shouldn't care about any of this stuff though. Just spam anybody who has Korean in their list of languages, and yeah, if they're not interested in speaking Korean, just hang up. Yeah, the only way to improve is really just to dive in head first. I think that's something. Okay, and then on to the biggest thing this month, which was Hello Talk. And I mean, I was obviously extremely ambivalent about using Hello Talk because Hello Talk is one of those things that yeah, I forgot where I saw it. It was probably Reddit or something. Hello Talk is like a social media app first, and a dating app second, and a language exchange app third. So there's so many weirdos on Hello Talk. It's actually crazy. It's like people who are just like in voice chatting rooms, like cussing each other out. There's like people who just like do karaoke in the voice rooms, which is like honestly pretty funny. I don't think that's weird. I just think it's kind of funny. There's like people on there like talking about like I think the title of one of the chatting rooms is like, "Oh, talk about your Hello Talk dating experiences," or like talk about your exes off Hello Talk. I was like I was like, there's got to be better ways to do this, and I heard that it's like called Hello Tinder in some areas of the world, and that really I laughed so hard there because oh man, but yeah, I mean I was extremely lucky. I wrote like a really thorough bio about like what my goals are for learning Korean, what types of language exchange partners I would like, and also kind of what my hobbies are and things like that. And then at the very end, I put something like I'm not interested in dating at all. And I think that is really important because like I feel like a lot of people on there are like perfectly willing to be language exchange partners as long as you're not like trying to like take some romantic notion into it or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I'm obviously happy to just chat. Like my goal on there is just to chat, and I really want to kind of like be able to meet the types of people that also are just like willing to chat, and not like do anything crazy because having a consistent language exchange partner is something that would be very valuable to me because it's hard for me to like feel comfortable with people if I don't know them that well. It's hard for me to like talk to like really talk, especially in a foreign language. It's hard for me to like really express my thoughts if I'm not comfortable with them, and it's like that type of thing. So yeah, got really lucky. I like made a moments post, like, oh, is like anybody interested like speaking in Korean, just like something really simple. And then somebody reached out to me, and we had like a couple of really long conversations. I think the first one was like a couple hours long, you know, like 4 or 5 hours long. And then yeah, so like they use like Korean 90% of the time, and I use Korean for like the first 60 to 90 minutes at like a 90, 95 plus percent kind of frequency, and then switch to, I feel like 50/50 is too generous. I switched to like 25/75. It's kind of bad. But I mean, the conversation was fun. So yeah, I mean, a lot of that was just for fun, but they spoke Korean most of the time. So it was, no matter what, I was like doing good listening practice. Um, I'm very proud of that. I think that is like one of the biggest breakthroughs I've felt recently is like on Hello Talk with this language exchange partner, is because like being able to like do something like this is something I never would have imagined myself getting to back, you know, when I started back last early November. Because like my history with language learning has always been, well, it's really only been like, well, English, because English, after I moved to the States when I was young, I learned English, and then because you have to, and then Chinese, which was actually my first language. By no means my most comfortable language now, but it was my first language. And like that's the type of language I would, these two languages are the type of languages I learned out of necessity. And then I learned Spanish for 4 years in high school, and it was a complete failure. Like I couldn't say anything. I had like a Uber driver recently who, you know, asked me, oh, like, can you speak any Spanish? And I was like, no, I can't speak any Spanish, you know. So it was really embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, I think like Korean, somehow I've been able to get to this point where it's like I can actually use the language. And yes, with, you know, 5 trillion caveats, and yes, with, you know, like big like crutches, like they have to be really accommodating with me, and like really accommodating with the fact that I like cannot complete sentences half the time, and the fact that like I have to, I'm saying morago like half the time, you know. But yeah, I mean, like barring all that, I think it's just feels really nice to be able to do this type of stuff. Um, yeah. So other thing is like we're the same age. I think like actually only 2 months apart. So it's like this is the first time, and I don't know when's the next time. Like who's the next person I'll be able to do it with? But like I get to talk in Panmar, you know, and it's like it's so interesting. Like Panmar is, I don't know. I feel like because as a language learner, you're drilled 존댓말, like it's like drilled into your head. You know, oh, if you don't talk to you, you should like speak to everybody 존댓말, you know, unless they're unless they're like less than 10 years old, or they're your dog, or you know, or you're talking to yourself, like that type of thing. So like switching to Panmar, like especially the first call that I had, we had two calls. Like the first call that I had, it was like really hard to. I kept using chol, you know. I kept adding yo at the end of sentences. It's like there's some like sentences or some like constructions that I've kind of learned only with honorifics, especially with the word, with the verb juda. I think like there's some stuff that I've like literally only learned in honorifics, and so like having to just like eliminate, you know, endings off the habits in my head, that was a really interesting experience. And then also like using null was really interesting too, because like obviously never had the chance to use it. Like, you know, it's just not something that you can really use, and I don't have any like close Korean friends or anything that I'm like really speaking to like Korean with a lot. Like using null feels, it's like weird. It's like extra intimate in a sense. Like Panmar is like already feels extra intimate, but like using null, like I feel like so uncomfortable. You know, like I don't know. I feel like every time I use null, or every time, or like one of the Saturi versions of it, I feel like I don't know. It just feels like you're like closing the distance between you and the other person, which, and I like never understood like how language could do this, right? Because from in the both of the languages that I normally speak, like you is just like a standard pronoun, and then even when in Chinese when you say nin, it's like, yeah, that's like how you keep your distance, right? But like nin is still directly addressing the person, and like the fact that like now with null I can directly address somebody in Korean without having to use like auxiliary things like Ushida or Kujo or something like I don't know like or that type of thing. It feels like you're finally like talking eye to eye to somebody rather than like looking in different directions and talking. I don't know. I've kind of rambled about this a bit by now, but I think that's just it's just such an interesting phenomenon. Like I just could not believe that language is able to do something like this. Um, and yeah, I mean, hopefully, I'll get better at Panmar. I mean, I'm trying to talk to myself in Panmar more. Um, and yeah, I mean, hopefully I can make some closer Korean friends that I can, continue to use Panmar with. Yeah, that's fun. Got taught some slang. And slang is extra hard for me because like I'm not even good at English slang. The English, even in English, I'm like 6 months behind the curve. So, I mean, in Korean, it's like an extra ask. But since in English, I guess my use of the language is a lot more like in a professional sense. I think I use English more in a professional setting more than in casual settings nowadays. Just because I'm like working and things like that. So, but like in Korean, I have like no intention of using Korean in professional settings. So, I should really treat slang like it's something I have to learn. So yeah. Yeah, so we did the second long call was, like 3 or 4 hours long. Yeah, I mean, this time I did over 2 hours with 95% plus Korean. So I'm just like so proud of that. Like it's so broken. Like the Korean is so broken and I'm like struggling. But I did it, and the motivation dopamine, yeah, it goes crazy. And yeah, the other time I did like 30 minutes to an hour in a chatting room. I hate Hello Talk for this. They have like a time limit. It just like kicks you out after like 90 minutes or whatever. And like it's not even 90 minutes while you're actively in the room. It's like even if you're 90 minutes like even if you're a spectator, it counts towards your 90 minutes. So yeah, I mean, I was like having a good conversation and then I got kicked out, so I was pissed. But I was able to express some thoughts. It was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, you have this feeling of just like grasping for straws, and the worst feeling is like you've seen a word before and you've seen it in English and you've seen the English to Korean translation, but you just cannot grab the Hangul and in your head, and that just feels horrible. But comes with practice. Yeah, so that was the speaking. That's why I kind of said I spent a lot of time like committed to speaking this month, um, and just like output in general, because of all of this. And I think like there's like mental effort, especially the output like has been a lot more on the mental effort side. Listening, okay, let's move on to listening. There's not too many changes. I think listening is like a kind of I've already established a pretty good routine. Mm, so, in terms of music, still like you. I've been listening to Mellowmance, some good music. And then I got recommended Han Loro by my language exchange partner, and I'll really like her music too. And then just other miscellaneous artists here and there. Yeah, content. I watched Business Proposal. Kind of binged it in 3 or 4 days, which is really bad. Like I really got behind in other areas of my work and things like that. Just like binge the drama. It was kind of addicting. But I think like I mean the drama was like like it was good and not so good at the same time. But it was like addicting. Like just listening to Korean and reading Korean all the time. I don't know. It's just that was addicting. Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know if it's worth my time in terms of language learning at this point. I just like don't get enough out of it. My goal was just to like have like some interesting content that I could sentence mine. But like sentence mining is like so hard in this because like it's either like sentences. It's so hard to find I+1 sentences basically. Like most of the sentences are like I+5 or worse. So it's really bad. I don't know, but just for pure like enjoyment, I still mind. I want to say a solid like 30, 40 cards, 20, 30, 40 cards. I don't know. So I mean, not a crazy waste of time, but I did drop 12 plus hours, I think, on it, and I think like if I dropped those 12 plus hours on DD, I could have probably mined like 100 something cards. So yeah, I mean, anyway, not something I really plan on getting back into. I guess for a little bit. I kind of wanted to test my level of Korean with like a slice of life drama. But as an A2B1 learner, I think it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, won't do that again soon, I think, but don't really regret it. Podcast without script, still DD and all things Korean. Yeah, just like minding those standard podcasts with scripts. Tries to intermediate. I just got to like the 30th intermediate episode recently. Hopefully, by the end of the next month, or yeah, hopefully by the time I upload the next diary video, I will have gotten through almost all of it, if not all of it. So yeah, that would be that's gonna be good. And then Ria's Korean podcast, I think that's what it's called. Like her podcast is good. Like she has a couple of podcasts made for intermediate learners. Like most of her stuff is for like slow Korean podcasts. Like that's most of her stuff for like really beginner learners. But I listened to her intermediate stuff and I was able to mine a good bit. Like her stuff is scripted, and she enunciates very clearly, has a good mic. That's kind of the stuff I look for, and has YouTube subtitles, so I don't have to go run my script. That's also something I look for. So yeah, really nice. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Grammar. Notion grammar template. Notion grammar template is something I also stole from Reimmerse. Thank you. And I'll just show you what it looks like. So here, it's basically just like a list of a bunch of grammatical forms, and I kind of just went through, and I mean it used to just be learned yes or no, but I kind of changed the categories to have like 5 categories here. And I guess maybe let me reorganize them in terms of like what the actual like ordering should be. So like usable is obviously the best. Like I can speak with it. Uncomfortable is like I can speak with it, but like I have to like really think about the types of scenarios I can use it in. It doesn't like flow off. It doesn't like roll off the tongue. Understands is just I could understand it, but like this is never a grammar form that I would like really try to use, or something that would even come to mind. Learning is something that I've heard of but don't really understand it yet. And then no is just never heard of it. So I mean, obviously, like the beginning, everything should be like usable, and then after that, it's just like it slowly goes down. I wonder where the first no is. Okay, here. Okay, nende korida. And yeah, I have no idea why. I don't know why this is low intermediate. Like I don't even know if I've ever heard this. And then yeah, so there's like I just kind of organize them. I think this is nice to have, but what I really want to do is I really want to add stuff to this, like my own grammar points, because there's stuff that I definitely know should be like in this list that aren't. Like any grammar form with shipoyo or shipta, like any grammar form outside of koshipta, any of those grammar forms I think at least should be in here, right? And then there's like some other grammar forms that are kind of like out of the way that I've like mined here or there that I think I would want to add to this. So I think like from now on, whenever I run into something that I think is not in here, I will probably try to like keep this updated. But this is like a nice start. It's 217 grammar forms. I think I'm pretty good with a lot. Like I mean, honestly, like knowing how to use a lot of this stuff is already like to me I feel pretty proud about like the fact that I'm able to fill in like a lot of this, like over half of this with like uncomfortable / usable. I think is already something that's really nice. And honestly, like if I just like mastered these forms, like if I just mastered the uncomfortable forms, I'd be B2. So there's nothing really, I don't know. So yeah, I think it's pretty nice to have something like this. So that's the Notion grammar template. Yeah, so working grammar into conversations is really hard. Yeah, so just like coming up with the correct grammar form, because rather than grammar forms are almost vocab in that sense, in the sense that like in English, I can't really speak authoritatively on English because it's just natural to me, but I think like in English, you just use vocab to you really use grammar to express things, but in Korean you definitely use grammar to express a lot more, I think. So yeah, I'll be finding the correct grammatical expression to express exactly what you want to say is quite tough. It's almost just like thinking of vocab, but like harder. So yeah, I mean, I just need to keep working on it. So I end up just sticking with the same stuff I always use. And that's kind of a bad habit, but I mean, I'm trying to break that habit too, with just like actively trying to like picking one or two grammar every time I output, actively picking one or two grammar forms, and then trying to like incorporate that as much as I can, even if it's unnatural, just incorporating it because eventually it'll become natural. So that's something I'm trying to do. Yeah, recent interesting grammar points. Tonde is interesting. I'm still like very much in the process of learning it. Like, I mean, I'm kind of in between learning and understanding. And then 리가 없다, 리가 있다, 리가 없다. Also kind of in the meet in between probably understanding and like uncomfortable for the latter grammar point. That one's pretty fun. I like used it yesterday. It was, I don't know if I even used it correctly, but who cares? You know, like use it so much, eventually somebody will correct me, and then that's how I learn, right? Immersion forms still a problem. Immersion forms, I mean, I don't know what is like a actually good way to define this, but I think I defined it this way last time too. Was just yeah, I feel like there's like specific like grammar forms or specific expressions that just come via immersion, and so there's like really no way around that other than just like hearing it like a bajillion times. So yeah, I mean that's still a problem, but I mean just gotta spam more listening. Vocab. Still feel like this is the biggest limitation, much more so than grammar. Just, too many things that I can't say. And so I end up also using simpler grammar when I have simpler vocab. They kind of go hand in hand. Um, but thank the Korean language. Thank the Korean language for using so much Chinese, and thank the Chinese language for being drilled into my head from a young age. If I didn't know Chinese, it would be. I feel like, oh man, like it would be so much harder to learn Korean. And obviously it's true because of so much hanja. But yeah, I mean, like so often, like now, especially now, I'm getting to an intermediate level, and I'm like starting to really learn hanja. I'm like able to guess more, and I'm able to just like convert from Hangul to Hanja a lot more, so that it like sticks in my head better. Because like obviously a lot of these expressions I do know in Chinese, it's just like don't know it in Korean. So yeah, vocab sentence mining again, still just doing that with all the content I consume. I try to not consume content without sentence mining it unless it's like listening to podcasts on Spotify. Like there's like this one podcast, like Korean Chingu podcast or whatever, and they just like talk about random stuff, like random topics, and that I don't really sentence mine. I just use it as casual listening. But pretty much everything else I mine. Um, yeah, Anki. I mean, I can just go ahead and show you Anki. So let me see. There's I'm going through 5 decks now. I'm still going through this Korean deck, like the top 500, retro top 500, TTMIK top 500. Sorry. And that one, is like the one I've pretty much finished. I'm still doing this deck, Avita, this deck, and I mean the stats are slightly off because I already did today's reviews, but I mean as you can see, I'm cooked tomorrow after I do tomorrow's reviews. I'm cooked for a day after. I'm actually gonna have 70 reviews. But yeah, I mean, pretty stable here. Let me see what the stats are. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I'm like suspending pretty heavily. Like I'm trying to suspend very proactively. And a lot of mature cards too. So like there's only really so many cards that are like in the pool that are like cycling. But yeah, I mean, making good progress. I'm over a quarter of the way through the 6,500 card deck. So, yeah, again, not my favorite deck, but it's 10 minutes a day, whatever. Okay. Using Kimchi Reader deck, as usual. Yeah, I mean, haven't suspended that much, but like I really only suspend when I'm like comfortable, I can understand it and use it like in like daily speech. So most of the cards end up just being mature around like the 1.5 month mark. That I try not to let it go over 1.5 months unless I've like used the word in conversation before. So that so this kind of artificially inflates the number of reviews I have to do every day, but I don't personally care too much. I mean, the alternative is like scrolling Instagram Reels, So if you take all the scrolling Instagram Reels time and put it into Anki, then I could do 5 hours Anki a day. Um, anyway, that is one deck. Doing a Hanja deck. This deck is something that's new. since the last time. As you can see, like I did it like very sporadically, and then I like spent 2 days. I went to an MX concert actually on April the 7th, and then that day when I was commuting to the MX concert, I was like, okay, let me just like actually like catch up to reviews on Hanja deck. And I spent like 75 minutes on this deck just like on the commute to and from the concert in Oakland, and I was just like, just like spamming Hanja. And then the next day too, I spent a lot of time on it. I don't remember how I spent so much time on it, but I spent a bunch of time on it. And yeah, so now I mean I'm just over 20% of the way through this deck. It's been very helpful, very, very helpful actually. I didn't expect how helpful it would be, but it's literally just like learning roots. And learning roots, I mean, I use roots all the time to guess the meanings of English words. So it's very natural that roots would help in Korean too. And yeah, a lot of fun this deck. And unfortunately, some of the like I really like to have like examples with the Hanja, but sometimes the deck like has just the Hanja but no examples. So I don't know, maybe I'll run like the Anki MCP or whatever, just like populate some examples for the cards that don't really have them. Um, okay, yeah, and speaking of the Anki MCP, I used it to generate this like closed kimchi production deck. And yeah, so Anki MCP is pretty cool. It's just like Anki Connect, and then you can like hook it up, and then just like I just like give it to Cursor, and then Cursor just does it. So I generated this closed deck, and I've been just like kind of sporadically doing this deck and doing reviews on it. So as you can see, I'm not like super consistent, but yeah, and I have like wait, it's like kind of demotivating because I have so much to catch up on, right? Because like I made this when I already had like 800 cards in my kimchi deck, so I'm like just but yeah, I mean like I think I'm just about like halfway through it in terms of like having seen the cards, but like most of the cards are still young. And but this deck has honestly, I would like to replace my main kimchi deck with this deck because like this deck is just so useful. Like being able to actually produce it, I think it's like a big barrier for me. And honestly, like there's so many words that I've gotten out of this. Like I haven't even done this deck that much, and it's already improved my speaking vocab by a lot. So I think I kind of want to just spend time at some point just to catch up on all the backlog and things like that. So yeah, this is a great deck, and I'll probably use it more, and then I'll report back on how helpful it's been next month. So that's Anki. Is it too much? It's 5 decks. Yeah, it's too much. Can I handle it? You know, I don't really doom scroll that much anymore, thankfully. Now instead of doom scrolling, like whenever I'm like waiting between like cursor calls, I used to just like go on reels, but now I just like do like 2 or 3 Anki cards at a time. So it's like low-key worth, right? Because I'm getting nothing out of reels, and I'm getting something out of Anki, so it's a win. Yeah. So overall stats for this month, Kimchi Reader hours I totaled at 90. So that's been 44 hours or so this month. 334 cards mined. Extra 106 cards known and 106 words known and 333 cards seen. And for known cards, I pretty much just do it like when I am comfortable speaking it. Same with like how I suspend cards in my Kimchi Reader Anki deck. And so yeah, so that's why like my known pace grows very slowly, but and even with scene, so and that's also why I don't promote to from scene to known very often. And so honestly, like if I had to guess, like in terms of understanding, I could probably understand a solid like 75% of this, which would put my total understanding at like a little over 2000 words. And I think, to give myself a little more leeway, I could probably use like 1400 of these. So I mean, probably not very consistently, but like sometimes when the when I can remember the word that I need to use, and sometimes when I can remember that, I'll be able to use it. So it's probably around 1300 working vocab words. Yeah. So Anki hours just about 24. Italki hours 4.5. About 9 hours on Hello Talk. So total hours this month is like around 80 hours. So over 2 hours a day, and it's bound to be a bit short. Like I probably just like I also watch like random grammar videos and like read stuff online, right? So if you just like add a couple more hours in, it's like somewhere closer to 85 probably. But But yeah, I mean, a lot of these hours, again, like probably like 15 of these hours came from business proposal, and I don't think it was that useful. So that's kind of cheating. But I still averaged over 2 hours a day, even very close to 3 hours a day, actually. And that's actually very nice. I'm very proud of myself for keeping this up, and 80 hours is a lot. I mean, I'm never gonna keep this pace up, especially like this upcoming month. I'm gonna be traveling. I have to move out soon of my current apartment, and then I'll be traveling to see some friends, and then I'll be going back home for a while, like traveling back home, and then so like it'll be kind of messy, but so I don't think I'll be able to invest as much time this upcoming month, but yeah, I mean theoretically, if I did this for like 2 or 3 years, I would be close to C1. So yeah, cool. Um, Lastly, miscellaneous thoughts. Try to speed through these, I guess, so that we're not and spending another hour here. Switching into Korean mode when speaking is kind of hard. I think like at the beginning of Hello Talk conversations, like when I'm not in the flow yet, it's just I'm like stuttering and things like that a lot more. And then when I do switch to Korean mode after maybe 15 minutes or so of talking, thing like it's so much easier to express because I'm not really thinking English anymore. So I think yeah, I need to practice that switching into Korean mode. Like I think that's something that is actually practicable, and that's something that I should work on because like if I could cut that time down to like a minute or two, or less even. Like with English, it's like 0 minutes, So obviously getting as close to that baseline as possible is good. So yeah, that is something I need to work on. Should I immerse with subs on Korean subs? I mean, honestly, it's probably fine because like sentence binding without like the subs on is just such a chore, and I still rely on subs a lot, like Korean subs, obviously, for comprehension. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know, it would be too much of a chore otherwise, I think. And yeah, I mean, otherwise, like if I'm just like doing stuff, like doing chores or whatever, like playing pool or walking or things like that, I turn on podcasts and obviously don't really look at the subs. So that's like the way I practice listening without subs. But otherwise, and also like when I'm conversing, right, when I'm doing output, there's no subs. So that's also one way, but mostly still with subs. I think whatever works for me is probably the best because like I think it'd be too frustrating to have no Korean subs. Um, yeah. Another thing that's like kind of a funny realization is like when you're half asleep, it's like easier to switch into Korean mode because you're like not too like stressed about like exact grammar or like exact wording or whatever, So it's like almost easier to speak. So like sometimes like when I'm like in bed, like before going to sleep, I like talk to myself, and then it's like actually better sometimes than if I'm just like sitting in front of my computer and doing it. So yeah, that just an interesting observation. One thing I realized why recently is like why I fell in love with this language in particular, and I was talking about this with my language exchange partner yesterday. It's just like Korean just feels like such an like a few exception language. It's just like super regular, and I used to like memorization stuff a lot. If I had to learn like English again, for example, it's obviously just hella memorization, but memorization of irregulars now is sort of like a weak point for me because I've really grown to learn by like chaining together a knowledge graph of sorts. And so yeah, it's nice to for such a regular language to have found me. And also every grammar form just feels like a tool. And I really like this kind of like breadth versus depth. Like I lean more on the breadth side. Kind of in no matter like what I pursue, I kind of lean more towards the breadth side. I like consuming mass amounts of information. And it just like there's some interest in learning new things rather than just like doing the same thing over and over and perfecting it. So yeah, I mean like grammar especially, it just feels like tools in the toolkit, and that's like a really it feels really nice. Every time I learn a new grammar form, I feel like I'm like slightly leveling up, right? Um, yeah. Um, Thoughts on Hello Talk in general? I mean, I think I covered most of this already, but yeah, I mean, finding language partners is hard. I'm happy with the language partner that I have. They're very nice, and also the conversation is very interesting. And yeah, I mean, otherwise, I don't know. I looked on Tandem, but I mean, honestly, I'm like pretty comfortable with Hello Talk now. Maybe I'll find one more like conversation partner, but I don't know. It's also a time issue. Like I don't think I'll have that much time, and it's the counterparty also, or why am I saying counterparty? The other party also might not have so much time. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Depends on how things go. And yeah, what I'm looking for on Hello Talk 2 is just more output practice. I think output is something I'm really gonna focus on until the placement exam in early August. After that, I might like slow it down a bit and kind of focus on input, and then before I go to Korea again, kind of focus on output again. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Like taking Korean school again, just gotta figure out the placement exam issue first. Like there's even a chance I might not get into the class, so we'll just have to see. But no matter what, it's a fun hobby right now. So that's just kind of a stretch goal for me. Language school, same thing. Is like if things work out, still want to go. And obviously making some Korean friends and stuff on like Hello Talk or whatever would be nice before going, but you know, we'll see. We'll see. I think it would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, last thing is like looking for my motivation. I think every month I probably will talk a bit about my motivation level, and right now it's still really high, especially on the output side. And I'm kind of honestly trying to control that a bit because too much output is not good. I need to input a good amount also to go along with that. But yeah, my motivation is feeling really nice with having had so many interesting conversations in Korean and being able to partially express my thoughts in Korean. It's just been a really refreshing feeling. And so yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, I don't know. That's about it, and I will see y'all for the next month. I guess like May 26th. Yeah, and hopefully by that time I'll have gotten a little better. So yeah, thanks for watching.